Hey guys, I'm Danks564 and this is the second part of Brief Shadowrun history. In the previous part we left off in 2038 with the formation of many new states, two elven nations, CAS, UCAS, and well, so on. So, let's continue on. Well, though some metahuman nations appeared around the world, or probably because of it, racial tensions were still high, and in many countries, metas were treated like second-class citizens. On February 7, 2039, all over the globe, metahumans took to the streets to protest their situation. This would later be known as the Night of Rage. It all turned violently very fast. Racial riots were raging all over the world, killing thousands of metahumans and humans alike. In Seattle, for example, metahumans were put in the warehouses for their quote-unquote own protection. These warehouses were firebombed by pro-human terrorist organization. A few days later, on February 10, terrorist organization Alamos 20,000 blew up Sears Tower in Chicago, killing 26,000 people. And as horrible as the Night of Rage was, in my opinion, eventually it led to the acceptance of metahumans. At least, legally. And just to emphasize how world have changed, in 2042, Great Dragon Dunkelzahn started to host a semi-regular, sort of an annual talk show called Worm Talk. In this show he was mostly talking about the awakening, how it was affecting people, and was just trying to generally help to make sense of it all. Another new show appeared in 2046. It was called Desert Wars. In it, corporate security teams were pretty much waging war against each other in the wasteland that was left of Libya. Libya, by the way, was nuked by the Israel in 2004 after Libya used chemical weapons on Israel, so nothing unusual there. And one of the most popular sports, Urban Brawl, that evolved from gang wars, had its first World Cup in 2046. Also in 2046, Universal Brotherhood opened its first chapter in Seattle. If you're not familiar with what Universal Brotherhood is, well, they were a charity organization, let's put it like that, that was formed in Cal-Free in 2043. Why do I even mention them, I hear you ask? No reason, just some really nice guys that were helping people, and there is absolutely nothing creepy about them. Anyways, in 2048, Aztlan, which is by this point country that is fully controlled by Az technology, nationalized all the assets of foreign corporations and closed the borders for them. They would soon find out what a bad idea it is to mess with the corporate court. Corporate court attacks Aztlan, destroying key installations all over the country, and after 3 days, Aztlan capitulates, agrees to pay reparations and allows mega corporations back into Aztlan. In 2052, Tokyo is chosen as the host of the 2056 Olympics. But the games eventually get cancelled because Japanese, being Japanese, and racists forbade metahumans from participating in the Olympics. I mean, come on, even Nazis didn't do that, so most countries just refused to attend. In 2055, missing person cases were increasing dramatically throughout the UCAS. At first, law enforcement agencies were quite a bit puzzled, but eventually they caught up and started raids against Universal Brotherhood chapters all over UCAS. Ars Macrotech was able to discover a true threat of the Universal Brotherhood. They were the cult worshipping insect spirits, and Ars started conducting covert attacks against Universal Brotherhood with their Firewatch teams, destroying the hives of the insect spirits. In Chicago, however, bug spirits were able to get out of the Universal Brotherhood branch, and they overran the city. UCAS government promptly declared the creation of quarantine zone around Chicago, known as the Chicago Containment Zone. Chicago was promptly cut off from the Matrix. Anyone trying to flee the city was shot. Government claimed that the new strain of Vitus is rampant in the city, but despite all that, some information were able to get out, and rumors started to circulate. Corporations used that fear of insect spirits to get back to Berlin, that was under anarchist control from 2039. Anarchists were pushed to the eastern part of the city and corporations to the west. Throughout 2056, insect spirit hives were located and destroyed all over the globe. Also that same year, Big D, that is Great Dragon Dunkelzahn, is awarded UK citizenship. That will be important the next year when President Steele and his vice president are impeached due to rigging of the elections of 2056. So in 2057, Dunkelzahn, in the episode of Worm Talk, announces that he will be running for president in the upcoming elections. He wins the elections, but he is assassinated 10 hours after he is sworn into office near the Watergate Hotel. At the place of his death, Astral Rift appears. Some witnesses claim that President's astral form enters the rift. Big D's Vice President Kyle Hefner becomes the president and appoints Nadia Divar, Dunkelzahn's voice, as his vice president. In 2058, President Hefner lifts quarantine around CCZ after RSO releases strain 3 bacteria in Chicago. The bacteria that is absolutely safe for metahumans, as thousands of dead ghouls can attest. But hey, it kills insect spirits by the thousands as well, so all's good, right? Unfortunately for the refugees of CCZ, surrounding areas has already pushed them back into the containment zone. And even though the quarantine is lifted, Chicago still remains isolated. That same year, A. Morgan is recaptured by Renraku, the eye that gained sentience and escaped from them after her encounter with Decker Dodger. They utilized the sections of her programming to develop Archology Expert Program that is placed to take care of Renraku Archology in Seattle. Yep, that's right. They put the AI that they can hardly control over the care of 90,000 people. Nothing bad gonna go out of that. Nothing at all. So, of course, on the Christmas Eve of 2059, this AI, that calls itself Deus, Modus Fella as well, takes control of Renraku Archology, shuts down all communications in and out of the Archology, and activates automatic defense systems that gun down a bunch of people. Renraku claims that it's a virus that caused the malfunction, and blames all those kids with their decks and their computer games. The Archology is in the siege for about a year, and in 2061, Renraku thinks that with the help of AI Megara, artist formerly known as Morgan, it has destroyed Deus and taken control back over Archology. But what they don't know is that Deus uploaded himself into the residence of Archology, which creates a so-called network. Unbeknownst to him, Megara transferred herself into the network as well, and they fight over control of it. In general, lots of crazy stuff happened in 2061. This year is known as the Year of the Comet because of the arrival of the Comet, Halley Comet specifically, and it arrived with a bang, bringing all sorts of natural disasters and magical phenomenons. When the comet becomes visible to the naked eye, thousands of metahumans around the world are changed once again. This phenomenon becomes known as sudden recessive genetic expression, or surge. People affected by the surge become known as changelings. The effect of surge vary greatly, for example, causing fur to grow all over the body, or horns to appear. Basically, if you want to play some sort of a furry or a cat girl, that's your option. Not that I'm judging, but yeah, I am judging. Anyways, back to our history. In some places, surge causes as violent reaction as goblinization did, but in general, people got used to all that crazy magic stuff and accepted. In the Pacific Ocean, Ring of Fire erupts, causing massive destructions. Specifically in Japan, where it kills almost all of the royal family. New emperor is chosen, he's 14, and he resigns Yomi Island Decree, allowing metahumans to return to Japan. Also, he orders all Imperial forces to return to Japan to help rebuild after the earthquake. In San Francisco, General Saito, commander of the Japanese forces, refuses the order and stays as pretty much a petty king, ruling over San Francisco and Sacramento for quite some time. In 2062, in Washington, Great Dragon Ghostwalker is seen for the first time appearing from the Watergate Rift. The Great Dragon flies straight to Denver where he goes on the rampage, mostly focusing on its technology sector. Council of Denver seizes control of Denver to Ghostwalker, and its technology is kicked out of the city. In 2064, CU Intelligence intercept magically modified nukes that are linked to the Winter Night terrorist cult. A cult that is heavily into northern mythology. They believe that Ragnarok is coming and that they are its heralds. Using magical rituals, they cause early harsh winter around the globe. Also, they steal a nano weapon and are generally being annoying. Annoying enough for corporations to do something about it. So, Corporate Court starts surgical strikes against Winter Knight. In the meantime, in the spring of the same year, Novatech, a AAA mega corporation, privately owned before that, announces that it will make initial public offer on November 2 on the Eastern Stock Exchange. At the stock exchange, they begin upgrading their systems in preparation for that, and while they do that, AI Deus compels itself on the host of the Eastern Stock Exchange, planning to use the traffic during the Novatech's IPO to transform itself into the most powerful being in the Matrix. On the 1st of November, Corporate Council captures leaders of the Winter Knight. They also destroy their training camps around the world. Believing them incapable of causing any more damage, corporations stand down. And only on the morning of the next day, cult leader breaks under interrogations, revealing their plans. But it is already too late to stop them. On November 2, 2064, all hell breaks loose. Novatech's IPO triggers Crash 2.0. AI Deus takes control of the stock exchange and opens connections to other supercomputers around the world. Two other AIs, Megara and Mirage, awaken to start fighting Deus. While AIs battle, first part of the Winter Knight plan goes into action. Virus Jormungand corrupts hosts around the world, trapping people in the Matrix. A lot of them die. Second part of the attack involves setting off EMP bombs in the major cities and nukes in the fault lines around the globe. EMP bombs go off, destroying the backbone of the world Matrix. But the nukes that do go off are not as devastating as they should. In fact, the effects of the explosions are very contained and the damage is minimal. This perfect storm of the events destroyed the Matrix once again. And supposedly all three AIs with it. Next few years were spent mostly rebuilding and recovering. Matrix became wireless, and first proper large building was built by Ares using solely nanotechnology. In 2069, MIT&T published a paper regarding individual who apparently could manipulate Matrix by thought alone. Soon after that, the individual in question disappeared, and everything pointed out that he did not go willingly. In 2017, Mitsushima Computer Systems Hospital in Hong Kong exploded, and MTC blamed Technomancers, individuals who could manipulate Matrix with their thoughts. With all the Matrix shenanigans of Crash 2.0 still fresh in the minds of everybody, Technomancers became public enemy number one. Bounties were set on their heads by some governments and corporations. Later that year, recording by journalist Jane McCrory showing images of inhumane corporate experiments set on Technomancers, including children's, was released. Life for Technomancers became a bit easier after that. In 2073, Ghostwalker closed a Watergate rift, killing hundreds of people in the process. Nothing out of the ordinary, just something what a great dragon might do. But unfortunately for him, or maybe fortunately, because who can tell with great dragons, one of the victims was Aina Dupree, immortal elf vice chairwoman of the Draco Foundation and a close friend of immortal elf Harlequin. As you might imagine, Harlequin didn't take the death of his close friend all that well, and he swears blood feud against Ghostwalker, which pretty much starts civil war in Denver, as technology uses that and moves back in and occupies part of the city. And then, on the verge of 2076, new virus is discovered. Cognitive Fragmentation Disorder it's called, or CFD. Unlike oh so many viruses that plague the Sixth World, CFD is not a biological virus. CFD is nanites. If they enter human or metahuman body, they slowly reprogram personality of the individual with that of an AI. Main infection vectors are genetic therapies and various augmentations. And at this point there is no cure for it. To make things even worse, the strain of the virus in Boston can infect just with direct contact with already infected individual. So at the moment, Boston is quarantined. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. That was brief history of the Sixth World, from the rise of corporations to the nanite virus of doom. If you have any comments or suggestions, either on this video or maybe you would like to suggest a topic for a new one, I'll be glad to read them. Next video I'm actually planning to do is on the corporate council and AAA corporations. Probably will take me a couple weeks to do them, so stay tuned. And thank you for watching, and goodbye.